All right, I'm joined now by our contributing writer, Jake Fogleman, to talk a little bit about the latest news. Jake, you had a story recently about a new undertaking for the New York Attorney General. What exactly is she up to now?
That's right. Letitia James is back in the news again. That's New York Attorney General Letitia James. She sent out a letter on Monday to the Biden administration, essentially asking them to crack down on toy guns. As it stands now, toy guns are regulated as far as their appearance so that they can't be confused with real guns for obvious reasons. But in her words, she thinks that those current regulations are insufficient. She didn't exactly specify what regulations she would like to see, but she is urging the Biden administration to use regulatory authority to step in.
Right. Well, she said she wants it to be stricter than New York's law, which is interesting because New York actually just passed a new update to their regulations on toy guns. And,
right.
We're calling them toy guns, but this actually, she wants it to extend to airsoft guns and pellet guns and BB guns as well,
That's
not
right.
just sort of toy guns that shoot plastic projectiles or what, the toy gun most people might associate with being a toy, whereas airsoft guns and pellet guns are less so. I mean, they're meant for older kids or even adults in many cases. So she wants those regulated as well. But also she wants everything to go beyond what the current New York law is. And the current New York law requires that toy guns either be made of colorful plastics or be transparent, and nothing else is legal under those restrictions, right?
That's right. Yeah. So, like you said, it remains to be seen what they could do at the federal level to go even further than a law that already is, that restrictive. Particularly things like airsoft guns and BB guns. You see a lot of times prominent gun companies will actually license their firearms designs to be used for those types of things. So that kind of it's not clear to me how that's going to work going forward if they have to be, neon green or completely clear.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's obviously going to be a huge restriction for the industry in regards to selling designs that are anything like an actual firearm.
Sure.
Now, she claims that this is, of course, a public safety issue.
That's right.
Where I believe she brings up a number of different cases where people were shot by the police over the confusion of a toy gun with a real gun, right? Including recently in New York. She cites several cases. Of course, at the same time, she also cites, she admits that this is not limited to the world of toy guns. I believe she cites a case where someone was shot because they had a steel pipe that looked in the moment to a police officer like a gun. So, how much practical effect something like this has in the real world on police shootings, I think is very much up in the air. Question, obviously, there's been famous cases of sort of mistaken identity by police when it comes to toy guns. Tamir Rice is probably the most famous example of that, where he was, I believe this is in Cleveland, he was shot. This small boy was shot because police believed that his toy gun was a real gun. And there have been a lot of cases in that regard over the years. So that's what she's justifying this off of. But she has also basically made a series of calls for new gun legislation in New York, right?
Right. Yeah. And even in this statement where she put out this call for toy gun regulation, she included those previous steps that she's taken where she's vowed to defend New York's law imposing civil liability on gun manufacturers, which we covered, I believe, in the last episode. And she's also talked about how she's standing up to defend New York's May issue carry law. And she's also recently come out in favor of copying the Texas abortion tactic to go even further with New York's civil liability regime. So this is all part of a broader strategy. I think it's not just what meets the eye in terms of toy guns. It's just a coordinated strategy to go after the gun industry on her part.
Yeah, and obviously she is the one who's prosecuting the National Rifle Association
That's right.
over corruption charges. So she has been extremely active when it comes to gun politics in New York and nationally, really. So this is sort of her latest foray now, is going after toy guns as a source of urgent regulation being needed. So it'll be interesting to see where this goes. I mean, I'd be hard pressed to see New York doing anything more. That they literally just passed this new law that she now is still saying is not enough. They don't know what more you can do other than just totally banning the concept of a toy gun. Maybe even your fingers. We've had children disciplined at school for making their fingers into toy guns.
That's right.
In this country. So who knows what the limiting principle is here for someone like Letitia James. But it will be interesting to see what the Biden administration does, if anything, on this front. I mean, this has been the regulation for decades now, but they've obviously been more willing than previous administrations to push the envelope on what they can do unilaterally on guns. And perhaps this is an area where they will try to do so again. We'll see.
Remains to be seen. She made a direct appeal for that in her statement. She said, "You've shown a willingness to use regulations before to go after the gun industry. Well, why not do it this time?" So we'll see what the Biden administration decides to do.